What's up, guys? This is Chris from DraftDashboard.com.
Here are my DFS picks for NFL Week 16, Monday Night Football.
These picks apply for DraftKings and FanDuel. Before I get started, please drop a like on this video and hit that red subscribe button
And hit that bell icon
so you don't miss our new videos.
Okay guys, in this video, I'm going to give you my top DFS picks for this Monday Night Football showdown between the Indianapolis Colts and the LA Chargers. And if you stick around to the very end of this video, we'll use the Draft Dashboard tools to make a DFS lineup using the picks we just made. Okay guys, let's take a look at this Monday Night Football showdown between the LA Chargers and the Indianapolis Colts. So at the quarterback position, the Chargers are still in the hunt for the playoffs, so I like Justin Herbert from the LA Chargers playing the Indianapolis Colts, who have a middle-of-the-pack defense overall. They give up the 10th most fantasy points to opposing quarterbacks, and Justin Herbert has averaged 19 fantasy points per game on the season. He gets an average of 3.3 rush attempts per game. He's going to be about 70% owned, projected at 20.1 fantasy points here tonight. He's 10,400 DraftKings salary. Vegas thinks there's going to be 45.5 points scored in this game, with the Chargers favored by 4. So Justin Herbert has scored 14, 23, and 21 fantasy points in the last 3 games. He scored he rushed the ball 1, 4, and 5 times in those games. So this is a great matchup. The Los Angeles Chargers need to win to keep their playoff hopes alive here. And I do think they are going to pull off the victory. And Justin Herbert, he's got all of his players healthy. I think he's going to put up some big numbers. Plus, he's got that rushing upside. Only rushed the ball once last week. So I expect him to rush the ball between 4 to 5 times here tonight. So I like Justin Herbert here versus the Indianapolis Colts. Okay, let's take a look at the running back position. So the stud on the slate is Austin Ekeler from the LA Chargers playing the Indianapolis Colts, who have a middle-of-the-pack defense overall. They give up the 5th most fantasy points to opposing running backs. Austin Ekeler has averaged 22.3 fantasy points per game on the season, getting an average of 11.8 rush attempts per game and 8.2 pass targets per game. So that's what gives him his fantasy upside, is those pass targets. He's averaging over 20 touches a game, actually right on the nose. He's averaging 20 touches a game. He's going to be about 55% owned, projected at 19.4 fantasy points here tonight. He's 11,000 DraftKings salary. And Austin Ekeler has scored 15, 24, and 14 fantasy points in the last 3 games, off of 12, 15, and 10 rush attempts, on top of 3, 8, and 6 pass targets. So he is captain material for me tonight. So I like Austin Ekeler here versus the Indianapolis Colts. Now, for the Indianapolis Colts, I think this is a pretty good value play here. Take a look at Zach Moss from the Indianapolis Colts playing the Los Angeles Chargers, who have the 8th worst defense overall, give up the 3rd most fantasy points to opposing running backs. Now, Zach Moss, he came in last game. He scored 8 fantasy points, but he had 24 rush attempts and 1 pass target. So that's pretty good volume here. And I do expect him to get 20 plus touches again here tonight. He's going to be about 42% owned, projected at 9.9 fantasy points here tonight. but I think he can score 15 fantasy points or more in this one. And he's only 7,000 DraftKings salary. So I think Zach Moss is a good sleeper pick here, or a good value play, I should say. At only 7,000 DraftKings salary, if he's going to touch the ball 20 plus times in this game, in a favorable matchup, I mean, it's a fantastic running back matchup here for Zach Moss. So I like Zach Moss here versus the Los Angeles Chargers.
Before I continue with the picks, I'm excited today because we added a new contest for everyone watching.
If you want to enter the drawing for $25 PayPal,
all you need to do is like this video, hit that subscribe button, and make a quick comment below to be entered into the drawing. We'll reply to a random comment and let you know that you won.
And we'll send you $25 PayPal.
So it's that easy, and we pick a new winner every Saturday and announce them in our video. So get your comment in now so I can add another entry for you.
Now you can also consider Joshua Kelly from the Los Angeles Chargers. The Indianapolis Colts, we know, give up the 5th most fantasy points to opposing running backs. And Joshua Kelly, he scored 10 fantasy points last game off of 10 rush attempts and 2 pass targets. So this is a risky pick because you don't know how much volume he's going to get. But he is only 5,200 DraftKings salary, going to be about 13% owned. So I like Josh Kelly also as a value play, but I still think Zach Moss is the best value play on this slate. But if you do need to save some extra salary here at running back, this guy will be touchdown dependent, so he's probably going to need a touchdown here to hit value. But I like Josh Kelly as a low ownership play here versus the Indianapolis Colts. Okay, let's take a look at the wide receiver position. So we got a couple of studs on the slate, actually 3 studs on this slate. So the first one is Keenan Allen from the Los Angeles Chargers playing the Indianapolis Colts, who have a middle of the pack defense overall. They've been pretty good defending opposing wide receivers. Keenan Allen has averaged 14.5 fantasy points per game on the season, getting an average of 8.3 pass targets per game. He's going to be about 53% owned, projected at 16.2 fantasy points here tonight. He's 9,800 DraftKings salary, and Keenan Allen has scored 17, 21, and 21 fantasy points in the last 3 games off of 9, 14, and 14 pass targets. So he's also captain material for me. Monster volume, monster production. So I like Keenan Allen here versus the Indianapolis Colts. And another stud on the slate from the Chargers is Mike Williams. He's averaging 15.3 fantasy points per game on the season, getting an average of 7.4 pass targets per game. He's going to be about 43% owned, projected at 13.1 fantasy points here tonight. He's 9,400 DraftKings salary, and Mike Williams has scored 11 and 27 fantasy points in the last 2 games off of 8 and 6 pass targets. So I like Mike Williams here versus the Indianapolis Colts. Now the stud on the slate for the Colts is Michael Pittman Jr. And the Chargers, they give up the 8th most fantasy, they have the 8th worst defense overall, and they have been good versus opposing wide receivers. But Michael Pittman Jr. has scored 14 or averaged 14.4 fantasy points per game on the season, getting an average of 9.3 pass targets per game. He's been on the field for 98% of the snaps, going to be about 49% owned, projected at 13.9 fantasy points here tonight. He's 8,200 DraftKings salary, and we know Vegas thinks the Colts are going to be trailing in this game, so you can make a case for Michael Pittman to be a safer wide receiver here, just because chances are the Colts will be trailing in this game, putting pressure on Michael Pittman to catch the ball and score some points. So Michael Pittman has scored 19, 4, and 19 fantasy points in the last 3 games. He got 14, 4, and 11 pass targets in those games. And he also got 2 rush attempts last game. So lots of volume last game. He got 16 touches. So I like Michael Pittman Jr. here versus the LA Chargers.
Real quick, guys, I got great news. For a limited time, we're offering a full 30-day trial to Draft Dashboard. You can try all the tools for NFL. NBA is right around the corner. This is a great time to get in and try everything for 1 month. The tools are all about saving research time. You can see the last 3 games, the fantasy points per game, the targets they got per game, so you can see how involved they are in the offense, the rushes they got per game. Seeing all this stuff on one screen helps you save time and make better picks. Oh, and if you're tired of doing research every day, we just added a cheat sheet that shows hand-picked plays for the slate. No confusing stat lines, no headaches, just a simple cheat sheet that shows the absolute best players for your lineups.
Okay, now if you're looking for a value play at the wide receiver position, take a look at Alec Pierce from the Indianapolis Colts. And Alec Pierce, he's averaged 7.3 fantasy points per game on the season, getting an average of 5 pass targets per game. He's going to be about 22% owned. He's projected at 6.6 fantasy points here tonight. But I like this pick because he's only $2,800 DraftKings salary. Now, Alec Pierce, he didn't score any fantasy points last game, but he scored 19 fantasy points the game before that. And he also 0 fantasy points the game before that. So he scored 0, 19, and 0 fantasy points in the last 3 games off of 4, 8, and 2 pass targets. So he's had pretty good volume the past 2 weeks. Just didn't catch a ball last week. So I think he's in a good spot as a value play here at only $2,800 DraftKings salary. If he can get a handful of targets in this game, I think he has a good chance to hit value. So I like Alec Pierce here versus the Los Angeles Chargers. Okay, the other guys you can look at, Joshua Palmer, Paris Campbell. My only problem with Paris Campbell is he is $5,400 DraftKings salary, and he only scored 3 and 9 fantasy points in the last 2 games off of 4 and 5 pass targets. So less volume than Alec Pierce, has more average fantasy points per game, but he's nearly double the price. So if I'm going to play a low salary wide receiver from the Colts, I'll probably just drop down and save the salary with Alec Pierce. But keep your eye on Paris Campbell, who's going to be about 25% owned, $5,400 DraftKings salary. And then Joshua Palmer, he's $6,400 DraftKings salary from the Chargers. He's averaged 12.5 fantasy points per game on the season, getting an average of 7.5 pass targets per game. He's going to be about 24% owned. Now, the last 2 games, his volume has come down a little bit with a healthy Keenan Allen and Mike Williams. They don't need to go to Joshua Palmer as much as they did when those guys were injured. So I think he's still an okay play, but I may shy away from Joshua Palmer. He's $6,400 DraftKings salary, so I think his price tag is okay. So Joshua Palmer has scored 10, 9, and 13 fantasy points in the last 3 games off of 5, 6, and 11 pass targets. So I think he's an okay play here. Not my favorite, but I do like Joshua Palmer here versus the Indianapolis Colts. Okay, moving on to the tight end position. I like Gerald Everett from the LA Chargers playing the Indianapolis Colts, who have a middle-of-the-pack defense overall. They're middle-of-the-pack defending opposing tight ends. Gerald Everett has averaged 9.2 fantasy points per game on the season, getting an average of 6.1 pass targets per game. He's going to be about 26% owned, projected at 9.2 fantasy points here tonight. He's $4,800 DraftKings salary. Gerald Everett has scored 8, and 13 fantasy points in the last 3 games off of 6, 8, and 6 pass targets. So I really like this play. I would play Gerald Everett over Paris Campbell and over Joshua Palmer, and you're going to save some salary with this pick. So I like Gerald Everett here versus the Indianapolis Colts. Okay, now this next play is a sleeper pick. There's some injuries going on at the tight end position. Actually, let me check it out. Yeah, so the number 1 tight end from the Colts is injured. So you got Jelani Woods here, who looks to be next in line. I mean, you have Mo Alley Cox, but he's more of a blocking tight end. So you got Jelani Woods, who he's probably going to play about 60% of the snaps here, and he should get a handful of pass targets in this one. So I like Jelani Woods from the Indianapolis Colts playing the LA Chargers, who have a middle-of-the-pack defense defending opposing tight ends. Jelani Woods, he's averaged 5 fantasy points per game on the season, getting an average of 2.3 pass targets per game. He's going to be about 13% owned, projected at 6.6 fantasy points here tonight. Only $2,800 DraftKings salary, and Jelani Woods has scored 5, 5, and 18 fantasy points in the last 3 games off of 1, 4, and 9 pass targets. So I do think he's going to get a handful of pass targets in this game, and I think he's got a great chance at hitting value here. So I like Jelani Woods here versus the LA Chargers.
If you want to try all these daily fantasy tools for yourself, click the link in the description below this video or just go to draftdashboard.com. You can use our DFS lineup optimizer to build quality lineups using our picks and your own custom player pool. Click the link in the description below this video and try all these daily fantasy tools right now. Thanks so much for watching. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel and hit that bell icon so you can get instant updates whenever we post a new video. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed this video, please smash that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Oh, and please comment below with your favorite player for this NFL slate. I love to hear what you guys have to think. Thanks again, and good luck.